You've heard standing desks are all the rage, but are they actually better than regular sitting desks? Let's find out. What's going on, guys? For those of you who are new here, my name is Kevin Jabal, physician entrepreneur based in Las Vegas. Now, I made a previous video called The Truth About Standing Desks on the Med School Insider's YouTube channel. In this video, we're gonna dive into some of the aspects I did not cover in that video, including treadmill and bicycle desks, as well as a few other factors. So as for my background with standing desks, I started using a standing desk back in 2013, so it's been about 9 years. And that was a fixed standing desk. I purposely did not even have a stool nearby. However, a few months ago, I changed to a motorized sit-stand desk, and I actually have a whole office tour that you can check out right here. And now I've fallen in love with it all over again. But who cares about my experience? You came here for the science, the literature. What do the researchers have to say about sitting versus standing for productivity and health? So first of all, why is sitting the problem? It essentially boils down to being sedentary is bad. And I'm not gonna bore you with all the details about the rate of DVTs versus stroke versus diabetes, yada, yada, yada. For two reasons. Number one, I'm gonna bore you. And number two, a lot of it is very weak correlational research. And you may say, hey, I exercise 1 hour per day, 5 days a week, I'm good. I don't need to worry about the negative effects. Not quite. Exercise, even if you are very regular with your exercise, is not gonna completely reverse all those negative effects of sitting for 8+ hours a day. And also, sitting for prolonged periods really increases the pressure on your lower back, and you tend to have more back issues when you're sitting a lot. It's actually one of the main reasons that I hate sitting too long. But are standing desks any better? So the logic being that, hey, if we're sitting for too long, then maybe we should be standing at our desks. That's gonna force us to move maybe a little bit, and that's gonna be better. At least that's the logical reasoning. But there's some conflicting evidence as to whether standing is actually any better. For example, people talk about glucose variability, and some studies will say that reduced glucose variability results from standing, which is a good thing, and others will say,
nah, no difference.
Another example is some studies will report an increased association with morbidity and mortality from standing, others will have a reduced rate. And I know as a viewer, this would just frustrate you, like,
come on, just give me the answer.
The issue with the research in this area is that it tends to be more epidemiologic in nature. It tends to rarely be randomized controlled trial blinded, those kinds of things. So you tend to have pretty weak evidence one way or the other, and you need to use more clinical judgment. So to summarize the research, what we do actually know is being sedentary for too long is bad. Sitting for too long, standing too long, they're both bad. Movement is good.
I all want to see some movement. I'm not seeing enough movement.
And this is why I believe that a sit-stand motorized desk is actually the best of both worlds, because you can stand, and when you're standing, you tend to move around a little bit more, you're shifting your weight, maybe you're rolling on a lacrosse ball like I normally do. And then when you get tired, when your posture starts deteriorating, you start having foot pain or whatever, then you can press a button, go back to sitting, and then vice versa. Once you are tired of sitting, you start having some lower back pain, you press the button, you go back up to standing. All right, so what about exercise desks? I'm talking about treadmill desks, bicycle desks, things of that sort. Again, the research here is conflicting. I found a handful of studies that reported no negative effects on things like typing speed at low intensity cycling, and then other studies that said, yes, there is definitely a negative effect even with low intensity cycling. So Torbanes and colleagues in 2016 found a positive effect on speed across tasks requiring variable amounts of attention and inhibition. On the other hand, Larson and colleagues in 2015 found no negative effect of treadmill desks on executive and cognitive control tasks using treadmill workstations, but reduced performance on fine motor skills and learning. Labonte Lemoine in 2015 demonstrated that you benefit cognitively after using a treadmill desk, not during. And they demonstrated this with cognitive tasks, EEG, and participants also perceived themselves to be more attentive, self-reported. Now the question arises with this finding, okay, was it using the treadmill desk and working on some tasks that then boosted performance after getting off the treadmill desk, or would any physical activity, walking outside, at a relaxed pace, also have the same positive effect? And if so, then should we prioritize people working on more cognitively demanding tasks immediately after walking or getting some light level of exercise? Now, I've actually talked in a previous video about how our brains are wired and better performing at various types of tasks or types of mental performance at different times of the day. So for me, for example, the most focused and intense stuff is best in the morning, the more lull and productivity, kind of mindless work is best in the afternoon, and then a creative burst occurs in the evenings. So knowing this, how can we schedule our exercise, whether a full-on workout or even a brisk walk, at various times of the day to optimize our performance for those cognitive tasks? Now in summary, when you look at the literature on these exercise desks, and I'm talking treadmill and bicycle desk, they tend to report a zero or minimal detrimental effect on cognitive performance. Very few of them actually report improved performance. And not surprisingly, if you work out at moderate or high intensity, you're gonna have more of a cognitive hit versus working out at a lower intensity. After all, when you are working out at moderate to high intensity, your body needs to allocate more of those resources and energy towards the exercise, towards your muscles. Whereas when you're at a lower intensity, you can then reallocate those resources more for your brain, for neuronal activity. Most studies also suggested using these exercise desks intermittently, right? It's gonna help you with increased energy expenditure, keep you healthier, but they don't actually recommend them as the default, the desk that you wanna use day in and day out. My take is if someone wants to use a bicycle or treadmill desk, then they're probably gonna be healthier for it, at least from a cardiovascular and metabolic health perspective, which is really important, but they probably shouldn't use it that much during the cognitively demanding tasks. I often talk about batching tasks to improve your productivity and performance, so if I'm gonna spend an hour doing email, that's a great time to use one of these bicycle desks. But if I'm doing something more cognitively demanding, let's say I'm studying for a med school test, or I'm working on a new video script, or anything else that is more intense, I'll go to my standing or sitting desk. So what should you do? First of all, that decision is up to you and your physician. This video does not constitute medical advice. This is for informational purposes only, and no patient-physician relationship is formed. So first of all, research in this space, it kind of sucks. The overwhelming majority of the studies were retrospective in nature, and they didn't really do a good job of randomizing or controlling for confounding variables. For example, there's a study from Smith and colleagues, and they demonstrated that people with working occupations involving primarily standing were associated with a twofold increase in heart disease. But without for controlling the types of occupations, the various socioeconomic factors, and other variables, this isn't really meaningful. The data are quite strong that being sedentary, definitely not good for you, but I'm not fully convinced that something as simple as just using a standing desk is the solution. This is a complex problem. People aren't getting that much exercise anymore in their lives, and we're hoping for this quick, easy fix, the classic American way, right? But unfortunately, even with the scientific method, we don't get clear-cut answers. We need to make decisions with imperfect information. That's just life. What the literature does say is that standing or sitting for too long, they're both problematic. So what you want to be doing is stretching, shifting, moving, walking, doing yoga poses, whatever, throughout the day. Now finally, here is what I do, and it comes down to 3 actionable steps. Now, first up is that a motorized sit-stand desk has made an immediate improvement in my physical discomfort, aches, and pains throughout the day. And if you're eliminating pain and discomfort, you are immediately becoming more productive. You're becoming less distracted. I actually really like the motorized base that I use. It was like $250 on Amazon. You can attach it to any desk, even something like this, and you can find a link to it down in the description. I start the workday off at a standing position because later in the day, I'm gonna be too tired. I won't wanna do that. And once I get tired after an hour or two, then I'll press a button, go back down to sitting, and rinse and repeat. Once I get tired of sitting, I start noticing some aches and pains or just discomfort anywhere, then press a button and go back up to standing. Number 2 is I stay hydrated. If movement is the key and not staying at your desk in either a sitting or standing position too long, then simple solution, just stay hydrated. It's gonna force you to go to the bathroom more regularly, and being hydrated is good for you. And the way to change that isn't by telling yourself to drink more water, it's by buying a water bottle and always keeping it on your desk. Number 3 is I intentionally experiment with desk options. So back when I was a resident surgeon, I had a fixed standing desk, so I couldn't actually lower it, and I didn't have a stool or anything to sit on if I got tired. The thought process here was that sitting is the less desirable and easier option, and standing at a desk is the more desirable but harder option. So I was using environmental design to incentivize myself to stand more often at my desk, because sure, I could take my laptop and then just go to the dining room table, but then I'm losing my dual 4K monitors, my nice audio system, my nice keyboard and mouse, all those things which are only at my standing desk. So the logic and the reasoning and the thought process behind that made a lot of sense to me. But it wasn't until I got this motorized sit-stand desk and experimented with it that I realized it's definitely a better option for me. So my recommendation, if you are considering a bicycle or treadmill desk, is go and try one out, because to buy one and to take that plunge, it's kind of a commitment. They're expensive, they're really big, take up a lot of space, and you might not decide that it's the right thing for you. So go try one out first. Now I'm curious to know, what do you think about the sitting versus standing versus exercise desk debate? Let me know with a comment down below. I hope you guys found this video helpful. Again, if you haven't already, check out the truth about standing desks here, or check out this video. Much love, and I'll see you guys there.